So you're into sports betting, but you don't quite know how many bets you should be making a day. Should it be 3, 5, maybe even more? Well, in this video, we're going to answer that question, give you the right amount of bets that you should be making every day, and reveal what pro NBA bettors are doing with their daily wagers. This is The Board, the NBA content division of the Hammer Betting Network, where we give out free picks on our weekday live streams, and we also do educational betting advice in videos just like this, all centered around the NBA to make you more responsible and more profitable sports bettors. So if you find this video at all informative and you want to see more content just like it, and also get those free picks that we're giving out over here, make sure you're subscribed to our channel and hit that like button as well. It does go a long way to supporting our brand. But let's get right into our presentation here. You guys are here to understand how many sports bets you should be making every single day. And over the course of this presentation in this video, we'll be exploring the strategy on how to maximize your chances of profiting long term. Everything that we are going to be focusing on in this video is about the long term. We don't care about the short term, the day-to-day stuff. We care about if this is going to be making you money over a long-term sample size. And to do that, we must understand, first of all, what a betting edge is. So a betting edge is the advantage the gambler has over the bookmaker. So a lot of times you hear the term house edge, which is the edge that the house, the casino, or the sportsbook has over you. But we're going to be looking at how you can get the edge over the sportsbook in this video. It's the difference between the true probability of the outcome and the odds you receive when placing your wager. In order to calculate the edge that you're going to be getting on wagers, it can be a little bit difficult, but essentially it's done by comparing the odds of the bet with the probability of it happening. And you want to make sure you have the odds that are higher than the probability, which would give you the edge over the sportsbook. The importance of the edge, I mean, it's absolutely essential. It is the most important thing in sports betting. Once again, all of this video is useless if you do not have the edge. So we'll cover in other videos on this channel how exactly you can find an edge when placing wagers on sports. But you must understand that you have to have the edge for these things to make sense and for these things to work. To maximize your edge, you need to put in the work. You need to do your research. Sometimes you can do it mathematically. Sometimes it can be done by very specifically studying certain aspects of a sport, but it can be difficult. It can take time, and it's going to take a while for you potentially to build up to a state and to a point where you can really, really profit on these sort of wagers. But further down the list, we also need to understand bankroll management. The fundamental principle of bankroll management is that, it's the foundation for success of successful sports betting. It involves allocating your funds in a specific way, reduces the likelihood of significant losses, and maximizes your potential profits over time. So one thing that I recommend that I do is I have a separate account in my bank account. You can have all these separate accounts within it, which is specifically for my sports betting resources. So I only take money out of there. I set aside a specific amount at the start of my sports betting journey, and I only take funds out of that bankroll to put into sports books. And when I take money out of sports books, I put them back into that account. So it is always in there. It is not used for extra funds, anything. It is specifically to build my sports betting bankroll, and it's separate from everything else I have. If I happen to lose everything within that bankroll, I am comfortable with losing it. So play responsibly. Set a limit where, if it's DEFCON 1, you lose absolutely everything, you can still be okay and still be at peace with your decision. But we're hoping to make sure we don't lose all of our money. So as I said, set limits. And another thing is discipline. Now, the word discipline in sports betting is a little bit overused at this point, I think, but the discipline that we want to focus on when talking about making the right amount of sports bet, it's easy to get carried away with the excitement of sports betting and make poor decisions, chasing losses or chasing the high of a win, wanting to replicate it. But you want to set limits. You want to stick with them. You want to stick to your bankroll. You want to make sure you're making the right bets for each specific occasion. You don't want to ride the high. You don't want to chase losses. You always want to stick to your process of sports betting and finding an edge. Sure, you can do some extra things on the side to have a little bit of fun, but the main portion of your sports gambling should be disciplined towards the limits that you're setting and the research and work that you're putting in to make sure you're getting really good bets. So now that we understand bankroll management, now we understand to a degree what the edge is, we can move on into the question: how many bets per day is the right amount? And to understand how many bets is right for you, we need to understand, first and foremost, variance. This is one of the most important things involved with sports betting. So, if you don't know what variance is, it's the range of possible outcomes that can occur in a specific situation. So, in sports betting, it refers to the fluctuation results over a short period of time. So, there's going to be times where the massive favorite, favored by 15 points, is going to lose. It's unlikely, it's extremely unlikely to happen, but there is the fluctuation of outcomes that is completely beyond the control of the sports bettor. So, how do we fight off the variance? Well, some certain things we can do to fight off variance. You can limit its impact on your bankroll by sticking to those limits, sticking to a set unit size, pick a unit size that you're comfortable with. I myself started as a $5 bettor a year ago, and I've slowly built up that bankroll and it slowly built up my unit size per bet. I very rarely deviate away from my unit size unless I'm extremely confident on a play, which it's good to understand that if you're confident, you can increase your unit size. But over time, get to the point where you're more comfortable and confident with your sports betting that you're going to be able to increase that unit size. But always stick to your limits and understand when the right time is to increase that number. Also, don't put too much of your bankroll on one specific bet. Sometimes you can also do it percentage wise. Your unit size can be a certain percentage of your entire bankroll. For example, you can make it 2%. That would be a good starting point, in my opinion. And finally, with the variance in sports betting, it goes back once again to managing the bankroll. It goes back to sticking to those limits, sticking to that unit sizing. That is going to help you succeed, especially initially with your sports betting. Now that we understand what variance is, we need to find out the ways in which we can limit the amount of variance that we see in sports betting. And it's quite easy in actuality to limit variance. I mean, look, sometimes there's some crazy results that happen in specific games, but it's very rare to see those sort of crazy results. So, what exactly can we do to limit variance? Well, this is the prime example that we can get for variance because I always go back to coin flipping because it is the easiest way to understand 50-50. You flip a coin, it is a perfect, exact 50-50 chance that it lands on heads or tails. So, this is a great way for me to explain to you exactly what variance is. So, flipping a coin once yields a specific outcome, either heads or tails, 100% of the time. Because you flipped it, it's either going to be heads 100% of the sample, or it's going to be tails 100% of the sample, being one of one on heads or one of one on tails. The other side will be 0%, of course. If we flip the coin three times, we would see either one outcome 100% of the time, being 3 out of 3, or we will see one outcome being hit twice, and the other one. So we see 66% of the time, we'd see one of these specific outcomes. But when it comes to sports betting, it's very similar to this sort of mindset where the more we flip this coin, the more likely we are to see a 50-50 split on heads or tails. If we only did it 10 times, we could get 5 and 5. We could get 6 and 4. We could get 7 and 3. We could get some ridiculous outcomes. It's unlikely, but we could get some ridiculous outcomes. But the likelihood of seeing a ridiculous outcome like 9 and 1 or 8 and 2 in a sample size of 10, the likelihood of seeing a strange occurrence like that where we see much more of one side than the other, we limit the capability of that happening by increasing our sample size and doing it more. I can like almost guarantee that we flipped a coin 1 million times. The percentage times it hits heads compared to the percentage times it hits tails will be extraordinarily close to 50-50. So the lesson from the coin flip example here is that if we want to limit the amount of variance we see with the coin flipping on the 50-50, we need to flip it more and more and more. Increasing our sample size reduces the amount of variance that we are going to see with that experiment. So the same sort of principle can be applied to sports betting. If you have an edge and you can calculate that you have an edge and determine you have an edge on a sports bet, the only thing stopping you from profiting off of that bet, if it is true that you do have an edge, is variance. If you bet it once and it loses, doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad bet. It was a good bet. And if you bet that same sort of bet over the infinite sample size, it's going to be profitable. The larger the sample size you create, the less likely the results that you put out will be influenced by variance. So if you have an extremely large sample size and your bets are losing, it's pretty highly likely that you actually don't have the edge that you think you do. The more bets you make, the better your results will be in terms of limiting the variance. We just want to make sure that we have the edge so that when we're limiting variance, we find success. If you have an edge, simply make that bet. If a player is typically limiting the amount of bets they make per day, I see people on Twitter, I see handicappers saying, have discipline and only make 3 bets per day. That is the negative way to use the word discipline. And it's likely that these bettors don't have an edge. And in this case, variance is their friend. They want the variance because on the day-to-day standpoint, well, there's so much extra variance on just 3 plays that, well, you can have those days where, it looks like you're winning better because you get the win. Much like for these players, variance is their friend. Variance is also the friend of others like casinos. So let's take a very popular casino game like roulette. The house edge on roulette, the edge, once again, they have the edge in this scenario. They can quantify it specifically, is 5.26%. So for every $1 million bet at a casino on roulette, the management expects to make roughly $50,000. So when a gambler is playing at a casino, we know that they have the house edge. We can quantify that the casino has the house edge. It is actually, it may not be fun, but it is actually beneficial to you to play less and increase the variance because since you are in the negative position here, you want to have higher amounts of variance. The more you play, the more you increase your sample size, the more likely it will get to a point where your profits have hit the house edge of 5.26%. In this case, the amount of money you're losing is likely to hit 5.26% of what you wager because we are increasing the sample size. We are limiting the variance. So, as I mentioned, may not be fun at the casino, but I don't like playing casinos very much because I know the more I play, the more likely it is that I am going to lose. The same goes for other games like blackjack. For all these casino games, house edges are baked into the format in which the game is being played. That is why you commonly hear the term, the house always wins. That may apply to casinos, but we can ensure it does not apply to sports betting. So the lesson here is that the more bets you make, the less variance you're going to get. Now, I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that the more bets you make, the more money you're going to make, because I'm not going to do that. You need to have an edge. If you don't have an edge, then, well, reducing the variance is going to make you a losing bettor. And if you don't have an edge, you're going to be a losing bettor to begin with. So sports bettors who limit themselves on amount of bets per day are likely looking to increase the variance from a day-to-day standpoint. The reality is your day-to-day numbers, what you make on Monday, Tuesday, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have any great significance. It is the long-term profitability that defines you as a gambler if you are profitable. If you have an edge, bet your edge. Don't stop yourself because, oh, I made 5 plays today. That's my max for the day. I mean, it's good to have those sort of limits in place to prevent problem gaming. But if you're at a point where you want to actually make money from sports betting, if you're at a point where you can be confident in your bets and you can be confident in the fact that you have an edge, once you develop that confidence that you have an edge, bet your edge. Don't limit yourself because you're only increasing variance and likely reducing profits. If you have an edge, that is a good bet to make and you should go and make it. But like I said, make sure you understand edges before diving into this mindset because I don't want a person with a negative edge listening to this and saying, well, I know a lot about sports. I should make 100 bets in a single day. That's not what I'm saying here. We'll cover ways in which you can find an edge on sports betting in future videos. But in terms of how many bets you should make a day, you should bet as many times as you can find an edge on a sports bet. We want to create bets that are profitable over the hypothetical infinite sample size. Sometimes bad bets can win. Sometimes that good bet where you had an edge can lose. You just want to get to a point where you've sustained your confidence. You've tried it out. You started with the $5 sample, so $5 unit size, maybe a $1 unit size, and you want to see, track your progress, track your bets, see what's working, see what's not working. Understanding what is working for you, what is not working for you is an essential step in finding your edge and finding the edge in sports betting. It's not going to be easy, but becoming a profitable sports bettor takes time and lots of effort. So to finish off here, you should understand how to maximize your profits in sports betting. Every bettor is going to face their own unique challenges, but the strategies outlined in this presentation are going to help you minimize your risk, limit your variance, and develop a sustainable and profitable betting plan. Again, it's all about having the edge, but when you get that edge and you've worked toward the process in which you have an edge and you're confident in your edge, don't let a certain amount of bets per day limit your profitability. If you have an edge, you're going to be a winning sports bettor. You just need to reduce the variance. I can't overstate this enough. If somebody who's claiming to be a good sports bettor is limiting their play, they are very likely not a winning sports bettor. Because if they played a lot, always played their supposed edges, they'd be losing better. So if you're listening to this and you think you have an edge and you're limiting your play, either you don't have an edge or you do, and you should be betting more. You're missing out on some additional funds. So hope this video helped explain exactly how many bets you should be making a day. The truth is there's no specific amount. If you have an edge, you should play your edge. You found this video at all informative, hit that thumbs up button, and also subscribe to the channel for more videos coming in the future like this. But we consistently give out free picks in our live streams, and we have some great content coming for the NBA playoffs. Get subscribed to the board today. Check out the Hammer Betting Network for more at thehammer.bet, and we will see you again next time.